Tyrone Keys understands the importance of being given an opportunity.
But Tyrone Keys hit quarterback Don Jacobs. It forced a fumble. Mississippi recovered and ended Alabama's 28-game win streak.
I can still see it in slow motion when Wilbur Marshall picks up the ball. The Fridge is leading him down the field, and we all are just running with him.
Fridge ain't losing no ground now. He's right with him.
You can't write a script for this, just the way it all ended.
Not to get theatrical, but I mean, how better can you write a script here for crying out loud?
And the snow starts coming down, and the fans went absolutely crazy.
The Bears were going to their first Super Bowl. Mike Ditka's thoughts turned to Papa Bear George Halas, the man who had hired him to get them there.
And I think right there, the old man was saying, we've come full circle, guys. We've come full circle. That's the first time since '63.
And I just never forget, as a kid, watching all the Super Bowl games and watching Monday Night Football, and my mom said, it's time to go to bed. But I said, no, Mom, I want to play pro football one day. And I never would have ever thought that when my dad took me outside to kind of throw the ball around, that this ball would have taken me places. But I want to tell young students, the ball without education and without the proper mentoring is a disaster.
Tyrone Keys was born in Jackson, Mississippi. He attended Dawson Elementary School, where his young life was impacted forever by his 6th grade teacher, who taught him to dream big and believe in himself. Holloway High School is where he met his coach Odell Jenkins, who became his mentor. In 1981, Tyrone graduated from Mississippi State. In 1985, Tyrone Keys won his first Super Bowl championship with the Bears. Later that year, Tyrone and his teammates produced the iconic Super Bowl Shuffle, featuring Mr. Keys as the keyboardist.
We are the Bears, the shuffling crew, shuffling on down, do it for you. We're so bad, we know we're good, blowing your mind like we knew we would.
But the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is that the Super Bowl Shuffle was, if you listen to Walter Payton's lyrics, we're not doing it because we're greedy. We're doing it to feed the needy.
And we're not doing this because we're greedy. The Bears are doing it to feed the needy.
And that was to raise a lot of money for the families in Chicago to feed them and clothe them during the winter months.
Our first award this evening is usually presented by Ted Rubenstein, the brother of our late executive director, Michael Rubenstein. Regretfully, Ted is unable to be here this evening, but the award is named in Michael's honor and is given to someone who has made a lasting impact on local, state, or a national level. Tyrone Keys, a member of the Hall of Fame class of 2009, is this year's winner. 25 years ago, this 7-year NFL veteran established the All-Sport Community Service Incorporated. Since that time, ASCS has raised millions of dollars to aid those looking for mentors in both the Tampa Bay and the Mississippi areas. ASCS is a way to highlight the power of educators to bring a multicultural, intergenerational mentor model to bear fruit for families, communities, and the world. At an early age, Tyrone recognized those that helped him along his path to manhood. Now he is working to provide mentorship and guidance to those young people in need of a push in the right direction. Tyrone is the 7th to receive this award, joining former winners Dave Boo Ferris, Ben Puckett, Archie Manning, George Bryan, Governor William Winter, and Ron Polk. Tyrone continues to connect with the roots from his beginnings to the present times. Let's bring up Mr. Tyrone Keys.
It was a proud moment 9 years ago to be inducted into this Hall of Fame there and have my teachers to come, and my 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Hagan, who actually had us do a book report on Archie Manning in the NFL draft. You know, that's how Archie Manning actually became my favorite player in 1971. He was the first player that was coming out to be picked, and I ended up doing a book report, and Mom and Dad had just gotten the encyclopedias there for us. I was able to do a little research, and I saw that in 1936 the NFL constituted the NFL draft so that the weaker teams can have a chance to pick first. And then years later, after my career ended, I wrote a story, and I wrote a grant to the NFL, and I told them we could not help all the kids, but we can take the worst, the best kids out of the worst conditions. 25 years later, hundreds of kids have come back. They're now teachers, educators, and now they're doing the same thing. And now we get a chance to ride on the back of the bus with them, and it's just been beautiful just to see those guys take an opportunity and run with it. And so all young people need in life is opportunity.
This necessitates an excellent teacher to terminate her services with a given school system. As was the case of Mrs. Mary W. Hagan, a Jackson Public School elementary teacher in a predominantly black school, who was greeted with tears from her class of mixed pupils when they were informed that she was leaving. And in questioning some of the children as to why the sadness, they responded with, "She taught us and we learned, she loved, she respected us." She had to sustain her emotions when she entered her classroom Friday morning to find, written on her blackboard, "You have certainly helped my people." This was written by the janitor. On her last day of service, Mrs. Hagan gave to all her pupils and their parents an original writing by her entitled "Love Is." An excerpt from it reads, "Love is knowing your students love you. Love is being honest with one another. And to aid the teacher who is to replace her Monday," she wrote, "Love is a new teacher next Monday." Mrs. Hagan will continue her services as a public school teacher in the Baton Rouge public school system this year.
I can't believe this phone call.
Why is that? I'm telling you, it's been how many years?
Since 1970, so that's quite a while.
Tyrone Keys, a former Mississippi State football player, came back to this his hometown, his native town, met with the school that he went to, the elementary school, met with kids and spoke to them about believing and achieving, and it's a really inspirational story behind Tyrone. But it's not solely Tyrone's story, it's a lesson and a living lineage and how sometimes the smallest people can make the largest lasting impact. As a football player, Tyrone Keys' journey led him through SEC domination at Mississippi State and Super Bowl glory in the NFL. Yet through all of his triumphs and success, he never forgot about this woman, Mary Hagan, Keys' 6th grade teacher. The teacher to whom he owed so much had no awareness of the impact she had made.
She expanded our awareness of what the possibilities could be. And over the years, I always thought about her.
To be honest with you, I did not know, I have a clue that this impact had reached the level it did until after we started talking.
What makes Mrs. Hagan and our story so different is because of the circumstances and because of the fact that she could have said, adios, I'm gone. In 1971 in Jackson, Mississippi, and in the heart of the heat of the civil rights movement, and her compassion for us and her courage to travel back and forth from this community to her community, I just never forgot it. You know, back in our era, when Martin Luther King had that famous quote, it's not the content of your skin, but the content of your character. She came in and she represented what true character is.
As a teacher, I think it's our obligation to try to help students to learn what their gifts may be, and that the rewards may not come at the end of the day, their 9 weeks, the year, but the impressions they make from day to day, minute to minute, will be for life.
It was 25 years ago that we were right here with the Chicago Bears, and we did it. We did our thing. I never forget it. Mike Ditka, Buddy Ryan called us up, and Walter Payton and Singletary called us up right before the game, and we all looked at each other and said, we're going to lay it on the line. And then that's what we did. We knelt down, and we looked each man in the eye, and we said, hey, everybody give it their best. We'd come back and we'd be proud world champions. We came back, we were actually world champions at halftime, 35-6. I always tell people I got my Super Bowl ring at halftime. But anyways, tonight we're here for a bigger purpose, and that's the purpose of teachers. Teachers are like, everybody has a teacher. It's like every living thing has a seed. Everything that's living was born from a seed. And so everybody that's living had to come from seed. And so tonight we're here to honor champions. I'm here to honor somebody who actually poured a lot of love and compassion in my heart. But at the same time, she laid it on the line back when it was not fashionable to lay it on the line, because back in 1968, you had Martin Luther King, who was shot and killed for taking the cause. You had Robert Kennedy, and so people were actually dying. And Mrs. Hagan came up, and she laid it on the line.
After 47 years, I still had the class roll. And for a reason I cannot explain, I had a small mark next to Tyrone's name. I also had the copy of the poem I had left for them.
And then down at the end of the line, she mentioned love is when one of your students come to visit. Now, I'm here. It took me 39 years, but I'm here.
I can't believe this is happening after talking to Tyrone a few weeks ago, and he said he could make this happen, and he had found you, and this is unbelievable. It really is. I mean, to go back and to be able to talk to your 6th grade teacher, and that's something. I mean, after all these years, that's really something, because I never would in a million years thought this would happen. We learned a lot from you. I talk about you to this day. I'm going to tell you, Miss Hagan, you definitely left an impression on me.
We had no idea what part we were playing in history, did we?
No, we did not.
At the time. It's a good thing we'd have probably turned and run the other way or something. But it all worked out. It all worked out.
Well, you're a special person with a big heart, with one of those kinds of love, for people, for your students. I think that just speaks for people, just has an impact on people.
Well, it's just wonderful hearing from you.
Oh, same here.
One of the students that I so much admired when I went to Tampa was a young man named LeBron. He was in a wheelchair. He had been in a terrible car accident, had a lot of adversity issues to deal with, and he told me this story while we were at Tampa Digital preparing some of these videos, that he had to stay in the hospital for a long time after this car accident. And he had a lot of nurturing at the hospital. The nurses were very good to him, as well as all the other people. But finally the day came for him to go home. And so he was sitting in his apartment in the dark, hot, wondering, what's going to happen to me? Well, it just so happened that Tyrone and his wife had gone out to eat. And at the restaurant, they ran into one of his nurses who said, we know a young man that needs your help. So he said, well, do you have a phone number? So the nurse gave him the phone number, but they said, we've been trying to reach him for quite a while, and the number doesn't work anymore. So Tyrone went home, dialed that number, it worked. This young man answered the phone, so sad and gloomy. And Tyrone said, hey, what you doing in the morning? Nothing. He said, how about eating breakfast with me? I said, oh, well, that's great. So the next morning, this young man who had nothing was eating breakfast with the Buccaneers. This young man won the Volunteer of the Year award with the Buccaneers this past year for his service with All Sports Community Service.
One of the movers and shakers for the group is an inspiration all by himself. An accident the summer before his senior year of high school might have confined LeBron Saffel to a wheelchair, but it hasn't stopped him. He returned to King High School, where he was elected class president his senior year, and after graduation, met Tyrone Keys. Now, he heads up the Quest mentoring program at his alma mater.
Will Allen from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he helps me run the program. And basically, our goal is to teach students academic achievement.
We're an extension of All Sports Community Service, which is ran by Tyrone Keys. And,
sure.
You know, he's just been helping us. You know, this Christmas for the holidays, we're going to feed 100 families, and you know, it's just going to be huge. It's the things that we're doing, and just trying to, like I said, inspire and motivate the kids, and help build the community. So
today, LeBron is at King High School meeting with Quest students, an organization he heads up. The idea to help students find their way.
Twice a week, Saffel and Gaines work together to keep Billy on his academic track.
He has so much potential, but he doesn't see that in himself. He's been teaching me things that outside of the classroom that I know that I won't get in some of my subjects. And I want them to really, really understand the concept of giving back and helping someone else.
And if they look to LeBron, they will see the power of love and hope and faith.
What an example of the power of love. One teacher, one student, a future of many, many possibilities. Wow.
You know, another part to that story that I don't know if y'all ever knew, they were harassing me, something horrible. We can, all of us, tell stories of things that happened back through some of those tough times.
Well, it's no doubt in my mind that, you know, as I began to reflect back and I realized that I believe that you were heavenly sent there.
From up above came down the heavenly one. Yes, an angel back in 71 who had to shovel her way to depths that very few would ever dig to. This angel experienced things that some would never live through because they would have left. When people told her leave, leave, she stayed because there was a special connection she made. As a teacher with students she kept, even though there were sleepless nights on the floor as she wept. Heartbroken, losing strength, but never losing her purpose. Where she knew that she had to dig deeper in the surface, because by changing the day's schedule, she would be changing the outcome of the future in these kids. We're in Jackson, Mississippi, only white lady who lives. In the midst of all these blacks, how do I not crack when the pressure is on and I feel like nobody has my back? So I back up, noticing I'm starting something bigger than myself as I'm being judged by the color of my skin instead of the content of my character. Ask Martin, with my intentions pure, teaching for the love. You know it's not for the cash, but still I wake up every day being harassed, truly wondering how long can this last. But I realize that's the price of me being the root, planting the seeds these kids need, in return seeing the fruit that sprouted up so huge and so bright for the world to see. 39 years later, my former student Tyrone Keys, who used his keys to open up so many doors, because as he did the right deeds and planted the right seeds, he dug deep into his core and understood his purpose. Now looking back, I'm so blessed I gave so much, providing a service which is essential in this cycle where in return Tyrone fulfilled my dream of seeing one of my students reach their fullest potential. Coming from a seed I could not see at the start, but he saw me as the first, being that root as I now walk with my fruit through the Mississippi State Sports Hall of Fame. It touches my heart, because in this movie I played a huge part by being committed, sacrificing, and my character. Yes, I, Mary Hagan, was courageous. Now I can stand up here with Tyrone Keys with purpose and say, yes, not I, but we made it.